Hi, welcome to another edition of Connect with Ivy Tech. I'm your host, Phil Quinn. At the start of the 2019 year, we had the opportunity during an In Focus program, another program offered here by Whitewater Community Television, to talk to our Chancellor, Chad Bolser of the Richmond Connersville campus. And here is that conversation. When I introduce you as the Chancellor of the Ivy Tech Richmond Connersville campus, that's actually not the whole story. That's not the Richmond, Wayne County, Fayette County, that's not the whole service area, so to speak.
Yeah, I think the campus service area, Ivy Tech is the largest singly accredited community college in the country, which in simple terms means we're a statewide organization that is funded directly from the state. We don't do regional sorts of funding measures. We come the General Assembly, as we do with all of the state schools. We are a network. We have 19 campuses. We have 42 locations where, as we make the joke, you can't turn left twice without running into an Ivy Tech facility. It is a massive, massive program. And here locally, our campus serves 5 counties plus 2 in Ohio, 5 Indiana counties and 2 in Ohio.
Oh, wow.
So Randolph and Union and Wayne and Fayette and Rush counties are a part of what we call our service area. The great part about Ivy Tech is that means that there's a campus area location. Whether there are 3 in our areas that you can tap into pretty quickly. There's somewhere wherever, and we facilitate a student going anywhere. We just want that student to be able to complete their degree program, and that's absolutely the best thing about Ivy Tech Community College is the reach and the extensive programs that we have available to offer any student.
Right. There's a lot of parts of Ivy Tech that I want to get to. We have seen a lot of times you'll see people that work for Ivy Tech in the community and serving, and so they may learn a little bit about that. They may see programs like this or different things that are advertised about what the college is. Can you describe to us what are the needs for workforce development? I mean, that seems to be, in my experience thus far, that's what Ivy Tech is geared to doing. It's trying to fill this gap, this huge void of employees that we have in the state.
Yeah, and we do it in 2 ways, and I would say it like this. I think there's 2 ways that we do this. I do think the Ivy Tech, what historically those that came up with this idea, this concept for Indiana in the 60s, the idea of a technical institution that would be beyond the career and technical education that is offered in the K-12 system, that would be a one step further with a little bit more extensive laboratory experiences, a little bit higher opportunities in terms of industry recognized certifications, a little bit of a possibility of getting your associate's degree with maybe an opportunity to funnel you into some higher education. But those folks that saw the historical portion of it, they were really talking about skills that would go directly into the workforce as we constituted it back in the 60s and the 70s. High manufacturing, high healthcare, not a lot unlike today. Building construction, we talk about welding certificates, advanced manufacturing, those sorts of things that took place. That really has not changed fundamentally. We have certainly expanded technology offerings, and technology has changed. You wouldn't recognize what we do a lot in McDaniel Hall. Healthcare has exploded. We are the largest producer of nurses for the state of Indiana. I would argue that you have a difficult time going to any hospital in the state of Indiana, any healthcare provider in the state of Indiana, that an Ivy Tech graduate is not in some capacity there. It just is. It's amazing the reach and the amount of healthcare graduates we produce. We like to talk about our nursing program. Producing, we get a pass rate of about 90% of our graduating class passes the certification exam at the end of their 2-year experience, which gets them right into being a nurse. As you well know, we can't produce those folks fast enough.
Right. Yeah, I read there was something on television recently and I think the president of Ivy Tech, Sue Eppersman, said the gap is there are 85,000 job openings right now. And a ton of those are in healthcare.
Yeah, I would say, and the Governor Holcomb, you will hear say that right now we are in a really interesting period of time. And let's be clear, we're not going to be in this interesting time for forever. It's going to change. It's going to change and switch. We're a decade away from being in the recession, and so things are going to be different. But it's a perfect example of where we are. 85,000 jobs today are available in the state of Indiana. And you're right, that is a large majority of healthcare. And oftentimes folks say the word nursing because they're familiar with that. But there are all kinds of ranges of healthcare. And kind of in a tiered system in which there are entry-level points. And the great thing about being in healthcare now, much like in manufacturing, much like in technology, is that if you can get into an entry-level position, the best recruiting tool for those higher-level positions are the internal folks that are working. So we see so many of those. The Achieve Your Degree program that's throughout Ivy Tech, that is a really interesting thing where companies are coming back and saying, look, the best folks that we can recruit and retain are those that we invest in. The state of Indiana is helping out with next level jobs. And so they are finding ways to educate and train those that are working currently. Yeah. It's the best. It's the best job training experience is to have a company or a healthcare operation to train their own folks, and we have obviously gotten a lot of those students to come through Ivy Tech and through Vincennes with the Next Level Job program.
Okay, so that's talking to a target prospective student, I guess, yeah, who is already out of school. And I heard the president of Ivy Tech say this. She said, quote, "We know that the jobs of the future have changed. A high school education isn't enough to guarantee middle class anymore." Yeah. So there's a part of this conversation that also we have to talk to students that are getting ready to graduate from high school. Yeah. So that is a different mindset. Okay, you've had some real world experience. You know that a high school diploma is not going to work, so let's get in here and get some certifications completed. But then there's this other student that might not have ever in their life thought Ivy Tech was for them. So that is a different sales pitch.
There's no doubt. And again, much like when we talk about the facilities at Ivy Tech and all the things that go on in the state, one of the really interesting parts about being at Ivy Tech statewide is we are talking to such a wide range of students. Because you're exactly right. We talk about adults and we talk about folks that have had some experience. But let's just talk about Wayne County. There will be about 700 students that graduate. Now, I don't have the specific numbers of seniors that will graduate. Area high schools in Wayne County. That number that will come out, around 50 to 60%, depending upon the year, sometimes it's lower, sometimes it's a little higher, will go on to some higher educational experience. That's Ivy Tech included, that's IU East, that's Purdue Polytech, that's IU Bloomington, all of the colleges in the state of Indiana, they'll go on and do that. That leaves a real big gap. Let's say that it's on the high end and it's at 60%. That means 40% of the folks walking across the stage really don't have an idea of what's going to happen for them. Now, we can have a conversation. It would take us much longer than we have in this time to talk about what happens when a student goes on to higher education and isn't successful and how we can capture those students. But just talking about that 40%, that number is critical. And I would say to you, it's about the margins in an area, and we're not shy about saying this, in an area that has a declining and aging population.
Right.
That's not just Wayne County, that's our economic region. We must capture and make sure that margin doesn't continue to be at 40. It gets to be 35, or it begins to be 30 or 27%. Right now, Phil, it is the Lumina's goal is that every state in the United States would have 60% of their adult population have a credential beyond high school. 60%. Right now in Wayne County, we sit at 28%. And by the way, we're not the worst in the counties in our area. 28% is not where we need to be. Our adult population has to be trained if we are going to give our economic development folks a fighting chance when A, recruiting, and B, retaining those companies that we so desperately need to continue on the education. Let's be clear. That margin of those folks, the 18-year-old, we never get a better chance to communicate that message than we do when they're 16, 17, 18 years old. You know, I did listen to the first part of the program, and I think I was obligated to say that.
Yeah, I would think so.
I think that I was obligated to say that. But I listened to that, and what the message of that, of More Than Words, is it's all about a conversation that takes place, and it's a continual conversation. I think we have not done an effective enough job of having that continual conversation about what are you going to do the day after you leave high school. 60% of our folks have it. They've checked the box. They know what they're going to do. We can talk about what happens, you know, how successful they are, what that process becomes, what happens afterwards. That's a conversation and a different conversation. That 40%, if we don't get that taken care of, we're never going to experience the type of economic growth that we would like to in this region and frankly across the state of Indiana.
You do hear about what would be 200, 300 students of that 40%. A lot of times there's economic challenges, there's
no doubt.
Who knows all the barriers that prevent them from getting in. So how has Ivy Tech, at least the campus, I almost said our campus, but how has the campus at Richmond and Connorsville been able to tell that story in a way that it's starting to change people's minds? Because it is. You have increased enrollment. More people are going to school.
Yeah, I think that's the best news. The best news about this conversation, Phil, is we're not sitting here saying, boy, you know, we kind of sort of hope that more people will come to Ivy Tech.
Yeah.
This is the barring some sort of strange anomaly in the next few days as we begin to enroll for the spring semester and really for what we call the first 8 weeks, we're really moving to a predominantly 8-week program, which is a really interesting concept for us. So we have 5 enrollment times during the course of the year, which is really great for folks that aren't sure about when they would like to start that process. But barring any sort of strange anomaly in the next 7 days, we're going to have 4th straight term of increased enrollment and significantly increased enrollment. And in a variety of different areas, in adults and high school students, we're very excited about where we are. And with all that being said, we're not doing enough. We're just not doing enough in order for us to make the impact to this area that we need to. And I think that's a part of the conversation that we have all the time, which is if we're really going to impact that, we've got to be on the ground level. We've got to be making that case. Here's the other thing I'd like to say is one of the things that happens when you get into the community college business, look, I think there's no doubt it's a different atmosphere. Folks are trained to talk about college, and sometimes that idea of community college, there comes with a stigma or a different, you know, you're going to work with your hands, not a real college experience. Right. Yeah. Here's 2 things I'd like to point out. First, I think we have such a great relationship with our K-12 partners. In Wayne County this year, Ivy Tech has invested in what we call college success coordinators. It was really an idea of Connorsville High School, Randy Judd's principal. We modified it a little bit. He had a great vision and said, we want to make sure that every single one of our seniors walk across the stage and they either have a college, a place they're going to work, a training that they're going into, are they going into the military? What is the plan? And we felt like to say to counselors who the catch-all for everything in the schools, right?
Academic counselors.
Oh my goodness.
Get it all.
Everything. We felt like they needed to have partnership, that we would go in and say, you're interested in going to Harvard? Great. Can we help you? We'll help you. We'll help you. Are you interested in, are you wanting to make sure that you have financial aid filled out? Can we help you? Would you like to go to IU East? Great. Can we help you? And oh, by the way, Ivy Tech Community College is really a great idea. If a student says, you know, I'd really love to go to Ball State. Have you applied? No. Have you filled financial aid out? No. What are your grades? Well, I'm not really sure. That's not a great plan. And so we want to talk about that and kind of fill in the gaps whenever we can. Every one of the schools in Wayne County this year has an Ivy Tech College Success Coordinator working there on a weekly basis, just trying to help fill that gap of that 40%. We think that's critical. And I would say, I'd say this other thing. There was a study done by Purdue, and I think this is a really interesting thing, and I think it's a big time part of this. And I would say this to any senior and any parent of any senior. They did a study of Ivy Tech graduates, those with associates that were applied and went and were accepted into Purdue. And what they found was that our folks not only just competed, but at times exceeded their other transfer counterparts. In other words, going and getting your feet on the ground, doing it in a responsible way, getting that associate's degree more than prepares you to go on and move on. If you're not in the traditional CTE programs or in the technical 2-year short-term type of programs and you want an associate's degree, it more than prepares you. In fact, we would argue that it makes you probably as or more successful as you transfer to our 4-year state partners. And it's a responsible financially. There's no question about it. We think that that information that we didn't study about it, Purdue studied about it and said, hey, look, we want to tell you about your graduates. We're thrilled about that because we think that it's a little bit of an untold story to our high school graduates.
Just at the very start of this year and before the spring semester started, there happened to be a scholarship that was created. It's called Win One, Give One. And the idea was that you would try to remove whatever stigma might be about there being a cost barrier to go to college. So the scholarship was going to provide all the funds after financial aid applied, as well as course materials. And we were a part of giving that award away. The person that won it, her name is Paige Mallory, moved here from Missouri not too long ago, single mom's got 3 kids. She then took the opportunity to the give one part of that is an interesting story too. She gave that scholarship to her friend's husband, both not working at the moment. He is also a veteran, had served at Fort Bliss for 3 years, and then also in Afghanistan for a year. He's originally from Richmond. So you had the opportunity to talk with them, to meet with them. They're getting ready to enroll. What was your reaction when you see those 2 individuals? Clearly, they're not high school seniors, right? They're not. They've been in the real world. They've lived some life. They've had some ups and downs and all that sort of thing. It seemed as though, watching from afar, that you were able to connect with them pretty well. Why? Well, what was your reaction? What do you think that they're seeing in that?
Well, I think first of all, this idea of philanthropy you know, part of our job is to raise money and to have scholarships available for folks. And this is kind of a unique opportunity that the giving that is given to a student is they are able to experience that. You know, a lot of our students they'll give to our foundation in very small increments. Community colleges are not supported by their alumni. We don't have football games that we gather in on a Saturday to have that sort of you know,
Extra
community
income coming in, yeah, sure.
And so this idea that one of our students was able, that just received a scholarship, was then to reach out to someone and have that giving, I think was really kind of one of the neat experiences in discussing that. I think one of the really great things is to actually talk to students who are experiencing an opportunity where the barriers have been removed. We talk so often, financial barrier is one.
Sure.
That comes up. We know that there are others. Transportation comes
Child
up.
care.
Childcare.
Yeah.
We have a program called Ivy Cares. I think it's been eye-opening for all of us. We always, you know, I think the story that we talk at Ivy Tech and IU East and Purdue and the other institutions certainly experience this. We know that a student at times is one flat tire away from saying, you know what, I'm good. I can do this. I can do something else. They're one hurdle away from saying, I don't need to do this. And so for us to ensure that that takes place, I think the opportunity to remove some of those barriers for those folks is just, I think it just is one of those situations where that's what being at a community college is all about. To have somebody have students that are absolutely in need and desire to make something better for themselves. They're pushing against the odds that say folks won't go back and get an education, to do that, and that's what it's all about. That's the story that we keep telling.
Yeah, that is. What's nice about that award too is you talked about Ivy Cares, and part of that is with the Ivy Tech Foundation, and Val Ray leads that group. And what's interesting is that I know going to her and talking about the scholarship, I said, you know, we're asking for prospects. We want some people to participate. How many people do you want to see? Do you have a goal in mind of the number of people that you want to apply for the scholarship? She goes, two. What do you mean, just two? She goes, I want 2 people that are going to complete. And I think when you hear Paige's story and Daniel's story, you know that those people are, his wife is already a student at Ivy Tech. So they've talked to a lot of people here, and so that's kind of neat. Spring semester is going to start on January the 14th, and things get rolling right away. In just the 2 minutes that we have left, if you've been in this situation where you've had to make a sales pitch to either a student, coaching, you know, just with your background in life, if you had 2 minutes to convince probably a parent, even more so than an 18-year-old, on why Ivy Tech is the best option, if you knew you were on that kind of a time limit, what would you do? Is there a magic wand to say, boy, if I could just get people to take a look at the financials or the opportunities to succeed in the classroom? What is it? How do you sell that?
I wouldn't try to sell any of that. Here's what I'd say to you is, walk into our campus one time. Here's what you're going to find out, is that the folks that work there really understand what it means. We have professionals that have experienced where they are in life. They've lived that life. They have worked with students for decades that are trying to get to where that student wants to go. And you know, so many times the folks that walk in, the mindset is, I'm not sure if I want to, or I don't think that I can. Let me tell you something. You will not find a better place, and I would like to say to you, than Ivy Tech Community College. And because I know that Sue Elsperman pays attention to this stuff, it's everybody at Ivy Tech, but especially on the Richmond and the Connersville and the Rushville campuses. I'm telling you, these people know what they're doing. They take care of it, and there is not a better more quality education that will prepare you to do what you need to do.
It's been a joy to be able to work with the faculty that's there. It really
They're
is.
really good.
They do care. I wish you all the success in the world. It helps all of us, I know. And we took up a whole half an hour. It didn't take any time at all. I read like one note I had. The rest of you had it.
Thank goodness for the audience.
That's right. Thank you.
That
Yes.
we did not get into any of the topics that you probably wanted to taunt me with on this
that is true.
show.
Thank you, Chad Bolser, Chancellor of Ivy Tech, the Richmond Connersville campus, also the Rushville location as well. That's going to wrap things up. Thanks again for joining us for another edition of Connect with Ivy Tech. We'll be back next month with another episode featuring highlights of our Ivy Tech Richmond and Connersville campus. Have a great night.